Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Don't Speak on It podcast, where we keep you energized, informed, and empowered. I'm Slaheoldine.
I'm Theresa.
We just wanted to first welcome you and introduce you to our first episode of our podcast, where we wanted to just talk about some topics related to the construction industry, the real estate industry, business in general, and maybe some topics that you just want to hear about, you want to talk about, that you might have seen and you want to discuss, but you don't always get the platform or the opportunity to discuss them. And we wanted to just pick up on some of those topics, discuss it amongst ourselves, and also share them with you and just get that conversation going. And so we're really excited to share with you our very, very first podcast. We can't wait. We've been so excited to share this with you. Right, Theresa?
Yes, we're super excited.
And one thing is that within the construction industry, particularly, it is coming up to award season. With the construction industry, I think award season happens probably throughout the whole year from now. There's always something, whether it's construction tech, whether it is women in construction, whatever, it always is award season pretty much. And one of the things that we discuss a lot, particularly in my organization, DDG Network Group, is awards. Should we attend them? Should we be putting ourselves up for nominations? Or should we be putting each other up for nominations? Is there a point? Why should we be bothering to throw all this money, spend this money on the tickets, the outfit for one night? Is it worth it? And I think this is a debate that goes on, especially I think in the Black community particularly, although there are some now Black focused awards events, but I think there is still that weird stigma about awards. And Theresa, I know you've got a few thoughts on it, and I'm really interested to hear what you think.
Well, yeah, with the awards, it's just a hit and miss with it. I think, you like you said, is it worth it? I think they should look into what the award is, and also the founder, and make sure it's worth it, because is it proving anything? And as we say, for instance, the Grammys and other awards, I stopped looking at award shows years ago, because at the end of the day, like, a lot of people think, what is the voting system like? Is it fair? Is it concise? Is it, seeking approval and validation? There's loads of great businesses, great people who put their work in and have not gotten awards. But at the end of the day, it is a great marketing tool. It's a great marketing tool. But like you said, is it actually worth it? And I think that something that you're going to be proud about, not just something that you're going to plaster on LinkedIn or your social media or your website and say, I got an award.
Yeah, I think it is a fine line, isn't it? Like with the awards, there's that. Are you just doing it so you can be award winning? Because obviously it could be any kind of award. It's about the credibility of the award, the credibility of the organization putting the event on. Is it something that has prestige, which actually recognizes you as a business or as an individual against your peers, people who are on the same level, same caliber? Is that a fair competition? And as you said, it's also who's judging it, who's making the decisions. Are people's friends or associates being shortlisted and winning, or is it fair? I think it's really difficult. But then there's that argument, and this is where I'm at, and I'm an award pusher, especially within my organization. I'm like, tell everybody, make sure you get yourself an awards events, go there, spend a little money and do it, put yourself up for nominations. I've just literally, as you know, shared an awards event that's coming up for the construction week, and I've said to a few people to put themselves forward if they feel that they relate to the topic itself. And the only reason why I do suggest it is because I feel some PR is better than no PR, even if it's in a room where you feel like you might not get seen, you might not get picked. Even to get shortlisted is something, to get nominated is something. You're seen, and you just don't know who's going to be in the room. And this is why I say as well, even just attending awards events, even if you're not up for an award, because you just never know, again, who's going to be there. You don't know the types of people you're going to network with. And I always say you got to kind of see it as almost like another networking opportunity, because you got to be in the room to be counted. And this is something that I've been saying for about a year or so of my organization. So,
well, that's as far as networking, I strategically network. I don't think that all networking events are equal. And so
Right.
I strategically network. And I think it's
Yeah.
important to put yourself in places and to make sure that it's because networking is tiring. It takes
Oh,
time, it
it's
takes effort. And so you're supposed to be focused on your business. So you have to strategically put yourself in those places. So is it worth it?
mm,
That's the huge, issue. And I think it depends on the individual, what they care about and what's important. But like you said, some exposure, I agree. Some exposure is good, is better than none.
no, I completely agree with you. And another thing as well, because I find some of these awards events are which I found last year, especially kind of towards the winter ones. The winter ones tend to be the bigger, more elaborate, more costly. And like there was one that we were being invited to, what we were asked to share and see if anybody wanted to attend, and it was a big one, with a big corporate company in the real estate industry. And when I looked at the cost of the tickets, and to be honest, like I said, the majority of people in my organization are self-employed. So, and they're small businesses as well. So they haven't got a lot of employees. Their turnover might not be multi millions, but they might still be significant turnover businesses. However, having to pay like £6,000 for a ticket for a table for a 3-course meal, and you're just attending, you're just a spectator at the awards event, that can be very hard for people to swallow. And my question has always been, in those circumstances, are some awards events pricing certain people out? Because are certain people going to ever really get the opportunity to be in those rooms if they're never going to really, like, realistically be able to afford to pay? They might have that £6,000, they might have that £6,000 sitting there, but they may need to reinvest that in their business in another way. They may need to get tools and materials and supplies. They can't afford, because affording means that you can pay for something and you're still good after you've paid for it. You're not struggling, and you're not like, trying to make it work because you've just overstretched yourself. But I do find some of these really big corporate awards events are so expensive that you're inadvertently discriminating and pricing out certain individuals because they just cannot afford it. Whereas the people who are attending those events are going to be big corporations who have the funds, who have the budget to afford for entertainment. Most of them, you can write them off from tax, right? And if you're going as an individual, your company will sponsor you. If you're a big corporate company, you'll go say, I'm going to go to this event. My company can sponsor me to go. I'm going to be that privileged person. That's the privilege, because I work for a corporate company. So I have opportunities where I have that privilege. I can go to a company that I work for if I'm in corporate and say, there's an event that's going to put us on the map as a business and also me as an individual.
Exactly.
Can I go? They'll go in the budget and pay for me to go. As a female, a black
And
female.
I've done the same. I've done the same when I was working in corporate. I said, hey, here's a recruitment thing going on. I would like to go. And they pay for it. They say, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That's
and and I was like, this will help the company. And they was like,
yeah. Absolutely, 100% agree. And it's so difficult for people who are business owners who want that opportunity to be visible, and they're just being priced out because they just literally cannot afford to spend that money on an awards event that may be actually good for them to make them get to that next level and have the opportunity to then work on projects that's going to afford them that type of luxury. How do we, because I always like to think of solutions, and how do we tackle that issue? How do corporates tackle that issue if they do want to be inclusive, which most corporates are saying they do want to be inclusive now? How do they then now need to look at that? Because maybe that's something they just overlooked,
I think there's a difference between saying you want to be inclusive and actually showing that you want inclusive. Corporations now, they're all saying, oh, we're inclusive. They get a few minorities, ethnic minorities in their company, but in actuality, they're not inclusive, and they're just there saying, hey, look at me. And this is where it needs to end. Say, for instance, Tyler Perry. And I like Tyler Perry, but Tyler Perry, he knew that Hollywood would not allow him to put his movies on the big screen. So he created his own studios, and now Hollywood rents from him. Being that he's not on the big screen, he won't get those major awards such as the Grammys and the Hollywood Movie Awards. You won't see him unless he pushes it. You won't really see him in the major movie theaters. You know, he's had
Yeah.
to release his movies in a different way, and he's on
Yeah.
BET. So what you find, and you see him on BET awards or other awards, do ethnic
Mm.
minorities create their own awards so that
Okay.
it can be all inclusive?
Yeah, and as I was saying, I think at the beginning, there are a few more, especially real estate and construction awards events that are focused on Black, Black success and Black excellence and all those sorts of things. And I think, I guess, with those events, then they need to then ensure that they're being as inclusive. They are being fair. They're being the awards events that we want them to be. We want to see other awards events be, so that people have the opportunity to be a part of them. But I have seen they are somewhat corporate bias. I've just been observing a few that have been out there, and when I see the people who win, or the people who are nominated, they're all individuals, but they're part of big companies that a lot of them are sponsoring the events. And I don't know, that to me, the optics of that
Yeah.
just doesn't look fair to me. It might well be fair, but then it's like, well, where are the little people? Where are the individual businesses? I mean, you're doing a Black Awards event for a
Well,
specific industry, but everybody who's winning are associated with a massive corporate company that are putting those people forward. So I don't understand
but
how that works.
that's up to me. Again, that's up to
Mm.
the event holder
Yes.
or the company itself. And this is why there needs to be more companies affair, and people need to do their homework, I
Mm-hmm.
believe, because what
Mm-hmm.
are their values? My thing is, if I go for
Mm-hmm.
award, I want to make sure that those values are aligned with my values.
Yeah.
Okay,
100%.
so
100.
a lot of awards want a lot of corporate backing. It's all a
Yeah.
corporate backing, corporate
Yeah.
politics, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
The construction industry is made up all small, medium enterprises, SMEs, make subcontractors.
Yeah.
They do the bulk of the work. So yes, it is unfair to see people from
Yeah.
large corporations win these awards, because it's the
Mm.
smaller companies that's making these projects happen from start to finish. To
Yeah.
be honest, it's the
Yeah.
little person. These are one companies, they contracted out to smaller companies, and so they're not doing the work. All of it is subcontract, but then they get the glories. So what about,
Yes. Yeah.
that may be
Agree.
something that you can do. Make
Get the
award
recognition.
show for the smaller people.
My mind was already.
One thing I like about, as far as you stand for what you believe in, and you make it happen, and it's not, I'm gonna go where the money at. It's about helping people,
Yeah. Yeah.
show the greatness, and that's what I love about you. It's different with you, and you've done so much, just little you. I feel like you have brought a lot of businesses together.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's
Carry on.
great to see passionate about bringing people together.
Having an awards event was a big dream of mine. Like, before I even started with DDG Network Group, and I always thought, oh, I'd love to do that, and I'd love to do a big exhibition and stuff. And these are things that I've always wanted to do. So, I think it is something that's there, and it's in the plans, and it's something that I feel like is needed. I feel like there's a way in which I would do it, which would be significantly different to how some awards events are at the moment. Because as you say, I like to help the underrepresented. I like to support people who don't always get the opportunity to be seen, to be heard, to get the recognition. And I'm all for, if you can't join and beat them. That's what my motto is. I know the motto is the other way around, but my motto is literally beat them if you can't join them. You know what I mean? Run the race alongside them,
That's my motto too. I
I
actually
know.
said, if I don't get a seat at the table, I've always been that way. And I think that's why you and I, we have so much in common, and we get along so well, because we're doers. We just go out
Yeah,
and do it. That's it.
yeah,
There's no
yeah,
talking. We don't sit there and say, oh, I'm going to talk about it, making a change. We do it,
yeah,
and that's it. It's not selling out to corporate, wanting to be seen, because one of the problems that I've always had with award ceremonies, and this is what I have with the Grammys, it does not determine who you are. You determine who you are. You,
yeah.
as an individual, you can be amazing. You are amazing. And that doesn't allowing someone else to determine, it just does not fit right. Although it's good for recognition, and like you said, but I think we as people also need to start having recognition amongst creating our tribes, and recognition among people with the same
Mm,
mindset. And that's one thing that I'm looking at in 2023, making sure that I surround myself with
mm,
people who have the same mindset, people with the same drive. And one thing, I was watching this
yeah.
developer, of the black developer who made the mini community on Instagram, and he was saying that he doesn't want anyone
Mm,
else around him that says he can't and no, and that he can't. He said he don't want to hear a word
mm,
saying he
mm,
can't, because
mhm.
what people do is that they come around you,
Yeah.
and because they're insecure, they push their insecurities on to you, and that's not okay. So, I think it's a lot
Yes.
of award shows. Yes,
Yes.
we should have awards, and maybe we
Mm,
should make our own. It could be small, it could be a plaque or something. But we need to start
yeah.
creating our own pods and communities. And unfortunately, it has to be that. But again, people, the award shows, a lot of them want the corporate backing. They want the corporate sponsorships. They want
Yeah.
the corporate money coming in, and
Yeah.
that's what they're looking at.
Absolutely. And because
Yeah.
in order to get that back in, you may have to, help and support and nominate some of their people. Maybe that's part of the deal. I don't know. I'm not in the awards industry right now, so I don't know the full ins and outs. But I do find it really interesting that, people who do get nominated and win are also sponsoring, which I don't know, that optically doesn't look right to me, whether or not it is what's happening and
Yeah.
what isn't. But optically it just looks unfair from an outsider's perspective. But I think what maybe corporates could do if they really want to try and be inclusive, and this is something that I actually was speaking about when this awards event came to me last year, which I thought was really, really expensive and pricing out certain individuals. I said, look, I'm more than happy to speak to the corporate company and see if we can create a deal where we can sponsor a few tickets, where they can pay for a few tickets for individual business owners, and small business owners can come and have a seat at the table if they really, really want to be inclusive and promote diversity within their industry. I think that is something, as a corporate company, if you really feel strongly about helping the small businesses, like you said, Theresa, the people who are actually being subcontracted these works and the projects from these corporate companies, sponsoring some of those guys to join you on the table, or sponsoring a full table. You know what I mean? Like small fries, small monies for big corporates, in terms of their budget. So that's something you could do. And look, if anybody is working with a corporate in the real estate or construction industry and you're interested in that idea, come and hit me up, because that is something I'm more than happy having a conversation about, because I have hundreds of independent and small business owners who deserve to be visible, but just can't afford these tickets. And I can help you as a corporate business become more inclusive and more diverse, because that's what all of you corporate companies are saying that you want to be. So let's make that happen.
It also shows their appreciation. So if they at least sponsor it, say subcontractor of the year or
Yeah.
something, and bring them into those
Yeah.
settings, it shows their appreciation for
Yeah.
using that subcontractor for however long. If they use them on a project, the project lasted 9 months. Okay,
Mm.
that subcontractor was with you for 9 months.
Yeah.
That subcontractor helped you, made sure that your project went well and you got paid. So just showing that appreciation
Yeah.
is great to me. It's
Yeah.
worth a lot. It's little money to show your appreciation in just a smaller way, and say, hey, come with us and be part of our table tonight.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's exactly what I feel, should be done. I feel like it's something that's necessary. I don't feel like it's something you're going out of your way to do. To me, it's just as good as saying, "Oh, thank you for doing that," or "Really appreciate your work on a project." A lot of companies do work with a number of independent businesses and suppliers, and they have all these contracts with them. But how are they recognizing these suppliers? How are they recognizing these individuals? And I think that definitely has to get looked into as a organization. If you are an organization that has these sort of frameworks in place, I think it's important to think about how you are celebrating these partnerships that you have, because it does mean a lot for a small company. It may not seem like a big deal, but it means the world to a smaller company to have that recognition from a bigger corporation, it just gives you that credibility that you need for your next project so that you can build your revenue. And that's the problem with small businesses. It's like getting to that next level where they can start employing more, start, billing more, start tendering more. But there's that fine line of being able to get enough business in so then they can afford to get more people in so they can get more business. And there's that little, gap between small and medium, which I feel is very hard for businesses to scale up, because it's like the chicken and the egg, which one comes first? What do you do first? So I think that's really tricky for business owners.
Well, that's the idea. Why don't you start a CIC or call it a subcontractor award? Start helping these the smaller business, because I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's so many people doing so much great work and they're not seen. And it's one of the issues that I have with, as you know, with the industry, is that the same face, and the industry is very clicks anyway to begin with.
Yeah.
So, and that's just a fact. But getting out those clicks, we don't really want to start our own clique, do we? We know we don't. People start their own little pods and cliques here because they're not really looked at serious in a certain aspect or area of the business, or they're not welcome. And that whole culture needs to change. It's one of the reasons, like I said, why I started a construction firm. It's because I feel like I had to be the change. Like you said, the change start with me, and I needed to create a different culture and environment. And it starts with me. It starts with the next generation, and we want more for the next generation and the people that's coming into the industry, not just the people that's already in the industry, but the people that's coming into the industry as well.
Yeah, 100%. And like I've been to awards, and as you say, that's like people know each other. They all go, oh, hey, how are you doing? They know each other from the industry, or they've met each other at different events, because these people are getting out. They're getting out, they're networking, they're, supporting other events and stuff. And so they're being seen. And this is a point I'm making. There's a point where you need to start getting out there and putting yourself out there as a business owner so that people know you. And so when something comes up and someone thinks of something and they go, oh yeah, I remember this person, I'll reach out to them, because you're in their face and you just appear at events. You look like you belong. And I think that's what's important. If you look like you don't belong, then people are not going to place you when you need to be placed, when they need to be thinking about you. But if you're there and you're in the same rooms as them, you're in the same events as them, they're going to see that assimilation, that they can connect and say, this person is just like me, irrespective of what they look like, their businesses, whatever. They're going to go, that's a peer of mine. This is someone who's in the same rooms as me, and I can place them. So when it comes to referring business, they're probably going to reach out more often.
Which brings me to a point, we have to own the room. We have to be confident. One thing that's said is that if you don't believe in your product or your price and what you do, then it's harder to convince people of your products and what you do and vision. So it takes a lot. As business owners, we don't just work on our business, we have to work on ourselves and as 100%. Well. And that's very important. Getting out, being confident, speaking, learning how to sell. I mean, not going to an event and do a sales pitch. I think those sales pitches are just,
nobody wants that.
Played out. Everybody's tired of sales. I mean, you come into my link. I used to answer, respond to everybody in my LinkedIn box, but it's gotten to the point where I'm like, whatever, you know what I mean? It's so many pitchy sales, and they don't even make it try to get to know you as a person. They just come up with the sales. And I think that's just a turn off. So what is huge to me there is building proper connections and relationship.
Yeah, you've got to build that rapport. You've got to build that relationship with people. Get out there and speak, speak to people. Like, went to a few awards events last year as a group. It was great to see. And, my group is for anyone underrepresented. So we're not Black centric. but we basically support anyone who is not represented as much in the industry, whether your background is from low socioeconomic, whatever, you're female, whatever your disposition is. We basically support everybody, but the majority of our members are from Black background. And when we go to events together, we're a table full of diversity. We are always the most diverse table in any awards event that we attend. And we're generally the only table that is diverse out of hundreds of tables. And that has always been very, very surprising to me, because we're going to events that celebrate diversity and inclusion. They're very D&I centric events and awards events, but yet we are still the only table out of hundreds who are actually very diverse. And we then are noticed in the room. People come over and say, oh wow, I had one gentleman who came over, and he was a funny guy, and he goes, you said, oh, I've noticed from your table was like African or Caribbean. I was like, well, that happens to be the small percentage of the group that are here. But I said, we have all different types of people within the organization. I said, this is just a small number. But I said, these are your peers. I said, these people are in your industry. They're all very much qualified. They're all very experienced. And, these are your peers in the industry. And you just haven't seen them. You haven't met them. And then he was like, no, I think it's great. I think diversity is fantastic. So, but, he was very surprised. It made him stop and come over to me to wonder why there was a group of all brown skinned people on a table. I mean, that shouldn't be something that is strange and weird. That should be normal. But the fact that it was means that there is so much more work to do.
There is, and that's the thing about the industry, is that the industries where I worked at go golfing together, and becomes cliquish, and then nepotism is a huge issue. So no, they don't see, because they don't get the exposure. It's hard to get that support sometimes within the industry. But I think it's going to change. It's changing. It's going to change. It starts with us. It starts with the people we know, our groups, people who are already in the industry. It starts. I can see it changing. I mean, the U.S., that the construction is diverse. I'm from Atlanta, period. So Atlanta, when you see construction people, you see a large number of ethnic minorities, in construction. But if you go to other states, you're not going to get that, and more issues. I think as we get exposure and prove that, we are highly qualified, skilled, know what we're doing, and not prove it to everyone else, because sometimes people focus on proving, you have to show your worth, and I'm a strong believer in that. So as we show our worth through our work and not showing our worth through
words,
I think people won't have any choice but to recognize what we do.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Because if you are just, like you said, just showing in your work, showing by example, like we do in our businesses, I think you're going to get recognized. And that's why it's important to share each other's work and showcase what someone else is doing and partner up and collaborate. I think that's why that is so important, because the more you do that, the more you're on someone else's platform as well, you're going to get seen a lot more. And that's a way to showcase, what you do. And that's why it's good to be part of some groups and things. And that's one of the reasons why I set up my group, is just to give people the opportunity to PR themselves, just market themselves in form of collaboration and working together and sharing each other's stuff. Like, it doesn't take a lot to share someone else's post or something that you've seen, that you like, something that you support. You could do a lot for somebody. And I think if you do that for them, there's a higher chance that they'll do it for you, And so I think you've always got to give, and not to receive, but definitely give. And I do believe that will be reciprocated in some way, in some form, and at some point in life. So I just think, people need to just still keep supporting one another. You can't do the journey alone. You can't pick it on your own and and hope for change. You have to kind of do things on a day-to-day
Absolutely not.
basis. Mm.
I look forward now to the DDG network award ceremony now, and I think you should actually arrange it. I think it's time that you go
Yeah.
ahead. I don't care if it's plaques or minor, but all events will be well worth it.
Yeah, that would be good. You're trying to give me more work, girl. But no, like I said, it's
I
something that
know. No, the future.
I am interested. Yeah, yeah, for the future, definitely, it's something that I'm, really interested in. It's, I think the thought is there and the intention is there, and I think the circumstance will arise. I will meet the right people that I need in order to get me in that right position to put it all together. But yeah, it is definitely something I want to do, and I would love to be able to recognize everybody and it be something great. So yeah, no, definitely it's in the pipeline for sure.
And like I said, it doesn't have to be this year. Maybe, you never know where it may take you 2 years from now, but something to work towards. I believe a lot of emerging talents as far as even the children, the school leavers, the
Yes.
people entering different industries. It's going to be a lot of
Mm.
whether people like it or not or accept it or not, it's going to be change coming, and it's time for that change, especially within smaller companies, awards. There's so many people doing so many great things, and we just don't normally hear about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of them are small. They need extra help. It's great.
Yeah, they do. They do need that support. And you know what? I same like your business, and I was gonna say that's one of the reasons why I love our partnership, our friendship, because you're always like pushing me to excellence and also pushing me to like you're like, oh, I see this vision and you could do this, da, 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 da. And I love that you see that potential in my ability and also what I can do for people. And I think that's great. And likewise, I'm always like, yeah, you could do this, you could do that, because I think we both believe in each other's abilities. And I think this is just, I think, like we're doing anyways in our own businesses and organizations, setting by example, leading by example. I think with our partnership as well, I think we kind of lead by example in that way too. I think more people definitely should connect and work together and, create something together. And as you said, in terms of promoting people and showcasing what people do, this is where we have this platform. We have this podcast, you and I, and we want to build this up, to a really great platform for people to come on and talk about what they are doing to showcase and build their audience and it be a platform where we do see different faces and see different people. So I think what we've built here, our podcast platform, we're going to be able to help facilitate that as well, with people and in their own businesses, because we're both very, very passionate about that. So I think that's also a good.
We always believe, and we are going to recognize small business, those in general. People, they have words, and technically their values is quite different than what I imagined, and they're not welcoming to smaller businesses and stuff like that, because it's all in what
Yeah,
can gain
yeah.
and I don't think that's something I would want to participate in. And that's me personally. Although you can get recognition, but again, is it worth going to those places? Yeah, you can
Mm,
network, but it's one reason. Say, for instance,
mm,
I'm just going to say I go out of my borough. I leave my borough just so that I can go into where I feel that people are more nice and not cliquish. A reason I travel
mm,
miles is certain you move into places or award ceremony. Are they welcome, or are they gonna snub you?
yeah.
I strategic to places where I feel that I can gain from. from it, and that's worth my time, because we only have but so much time, and
Mm,
it's not to be wasted.
yeah.
Strategically network. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think sometimes, yeah, people might feel like they go into a room and they're not welcome, or they don't feel welcome or don't feel included. So that can make it a bit more uncomfortable. But as you said, I think the awards are not going to make you or break you. I think it's an added extra. If you're in a position to do it, then it's worth doing once in a while. Don't go to every awards. But as you said, I think the onus and responsibility is on ourselves to decide to go out there. And like you said, you drive miles. I know you go from one event from one end of the UK to another to go and network and put yourself out there. I think that's what makes the difference with you and your business. And that's why you will be successful, because you do things that disrupt the nature. Like you do things to just kind of disrupt the everyday. And I think we need to be doing that as business owners. I think it's important. You need to be putting yourself out there, doing things differently, and being that person that weren't weren't always being, because you need to have different results, right? So I think the things you can do in between awards events, as you said, is networking. And that's a whole another topic, I guess. But yeah,
Another
networking is
topic.
also another important aspect. There are so many different networking opportunities. Yeah. But it is another important part
Yeah.
of building a business.
You said something, because I read a lot. So I read Bob
I think
Proctor.
it's super important for people just to continue to educate themselves, continue reading, and also, yeah, if you know a good book or a good audio that you want to share, or you feel like you should share to someone that you think has you've gathered some really good knowledge from, definitely be sharing that with the people that are around you and the people that are in your network. 100%.
We need to definitely read more books, and work on our self-esteem and confidence. I think that's very important as business owners. As business owners, we often worry about how others portray us.
Yeah.
And deep inside, and we counter rejection and all sorts during the process of doing business. And so it's very important that we work on ourselves so that we don't seek validation. I mean, although we need to seek validation from our clients and others, but put all of our validation into other people and awards or whatnot.
Yeah, no, definitely. We need to definitely empower ourselves, put the power back in us, put the authority back in us. And as you said, build the confidence, do courses. There are, a number of courses and self-improvement programs that you can enroll yourself in and work on some of these soft skills. So, we're actually going to deliver a number of courses as well for self-improvement and self-development. So yeah, there's lots of things out there that you can get yourself into. So 100%, I recommend that. And again, that's another topic that we can get into and we can explore. I think there are so many things that we can definitely look into and explore further.
Definitely. So I guess let us know what you think about award shows. If you like awards, if you won some awards, let us know. We want to know. Let us know your take on awards. Of course, I agree that awards shows for exposure marketing is good to have, but also the other take on it is, do we deem it as important? How important is it? What are we gaining from it? Is it worth it? So let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know what you think in the comments, reshare the video. Let's continue to have these conversations. Maybe there's a change needed. Maybe we need something new in the market, as Theresa is saying. Maybe we need, create something ourselves. But definitely let us know. Make sure you share the conversation. Let's keep these conversations happening. And yeah, let's just keep speaking on it. So I think that, you know, with that being said, unfortunately, we've come to the end of our first episode of the Don't Speak on It podcast. Theresa, was there any closing words that you wanted to say? Any wisdom that you wanted to impart on people before we head out?
Don't let others validate you. No matter how small you are, how small you think you are, and the small fish in the pond as a business, you mean something to someone, to your clients. You mean something. So don't look at yourself as being small. And this is for all our the contractors, small, subcontractors, small business compete, who has to compete with medium-sized companies and larger business. You mean something. You're not small, you're important. And always remember that you make a difference in your way and you add value, whether it's the economy, community, or to others. You add value.
100%. And you know what? I don't even have anything to add. I think that is a great way for us to leave it. So we just want to say, you know, on behalf of myself and Theresa from the Don't Speak on It podcast, thank you so much for listening and for watching. So thank you so much for listening and watching the Don't Speak on It podcast, the podcast that makes you feel energized, informed, and empowered. I am Slaheoldine.
And I'm Theresa. And remember to always speak on it.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram, on Don't Speak on It. We're on LinkedIn. We also have a Facebook community. So definitely you can join us on there and ensure that you continue the conversations. Also gives
YouTube,
you opportunity.
TikTok.
Exactly. YouTube, TikTok, all the socials. We are on them. It's the same handle.
Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music. Download, follow us on all the streaming platforms.
Exactly. You know, just to make sure that you're staying up to date with our next topics and everything that we're going to discuss. We're so happy to be a part of this community, and we're so happy for you guys to be part of our community on this launch. And we are looking forward to many more fantastic episodes with you guys. So thank you so much for your time, for listening, and for watching.